You wake up, and within 4 minutes, you are already late. Your phone is screaming. Your calendar has three things stacked at 9 a.m. Your body is barely online, and the world is already demanding something from it. This is what a morning feels like now. This is the rhythm that was handed to you. But here is the thing. For roughly 300,000 years, your ancestors woke up to something completely different. No alarm, no agenda, no inbox. The question is, what did they actually do with all that time? Because the assumption most people carry is that ancient life was a relentless grind. Hunt or starve, run or be eaten. Every waking hour spent clawing survival from a hostile world. That assumption is wrong. Measurably, demonstrably wrong. And the evidence changes how you see your own life. Let us start with the hours. In 1966, anthropologist Marshall Sahlins published what became one of the most cited and debated papers in the history of his field. He called hunter-gatherer societies the original affluent societies, not because they had wealth in the way you think of it, but because they had something far rarer. They had enough time. Sahlins drew on fieldwork by Richard Lee, who spent years living among the Jew Huansi San people of the Kalahari Desert in southern Africa. Lee tracked exactly how many hours the San spent acquiring food. The answer stunned the academic world. On average, between 12 and 19 hours per week. Not per day, per week. The rest of the time was not survival. It was living. So what did living look like? Your ancestor rose when their body was ready. Sleep researcher Jerome Siegel of UCLA studied the Hadza of Tanzania, the Tsimane of Bolivia, and the San Bushmen using actigraphy monitors, the same technology used in modern sleep clinics. He found they slept an average of 6 to 8 hours. They did not go to bed at a fixed time. They followed the temperature, not the clock. They drifted to sleep as the air cooled after sunset and woke naturally as the morning warmed. No insomnia was recorded. Almost none. The morning began slowly. A fire was coaxed back to life from the embers of the night before. Food from the day before was shared again. Children wandered between adults without any formal structure. Your ancestors talked. Anthropologist Polly Wiessner spent decades studying the Huansi San and recorded what they actually talked about during daylight hours versus around the fire at night. During the day, conversations were practical. Who saw what tracks? Where the tubers were last season? What the weather was doing? But the practical work did not last all day. Gathering was real. It was physical. Women in forager societies, based on cross-cultural ethnographic data, contributed between 50 and 80% of total caloric intake through plant gathering. This was not a side activity. It was the core of survival. A woman would walk 3 to 9 miles in a day, reading the landscape like a living library. She knew which roots were ripe by the color of a dried stem above ground. She knew which plants were toxic and which were edible based on knowledge passed down through thousands of years of oral transmission. She was not guessing. She was applying a sophisticated botanical intelligence that no university today teaches. Men hunted, but not every day, and rarely all day. Hunting in hunter-gatherer societies is episodic. Anthropologist Kim Hill studied the Ache people of Paraguay and found that men hunted on average around 7 hours per day when they hunted, but they did not hunt every single day. Rest days were common. Failed hunts were expected. The pursuit of a single large animal might last multiple days, but it might also end in failure with the hunter returning empty-handed and the community absorbing that without drama. What happened after the work? This is where the picture gets interesting. Your ancestor rested. Not guiltily, not anxiously, not with one eye on a to-do list. Resting was not laziness. It was the baseline state between necessary effort. Adults napped in the afternoon heat. Children played in mixed-age groups without adult supervision, practicing the exact physical and social skills they would need as adults. Adolescents sat together and talked, in what anthropologist David Lancy has documented as a near-universal pattern across forager societies. Then there was what Wiessner called the firelight hours. After dark, the tenor of human activity shifted entirely. Wiessner's recordings of Zhu Huanxi-san conversations show that nighttime talk was dominated by stories, not gossip, not logistics, stories, myths, spiritual narratives, accounts of distant relatives and the deeds of ancestors, humor, song. The Zhu Huanxi were famous for their healing dances, long communal rituals where the entire group would sing and clap for hours while healers moved into trance states. These were not rare occasions. They happened multiple times per week. Here is what that tells you. The brain your ancestors used to track animal paths and read weather patterns was the same brain that spent hours every night processing shared narrative, constructing meaning, maintaining social bonds across large networks of kin and alliance. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar's research on the social brain hypothesis suggests that large human brains evolved not primarily for tool use, but for managing complex social relationships. The evening fire was not leisure. It was the operating system of the group. Now let us place this against the concrete day. Let us reconstruct it. You wake with the sun, in a landscape that smells of dry grass and cooling rock. The camp is small, maybe 20 to 40 people. A few fires are burning. An older woman is already cracking nuts with a stone against a flat rock, a task so repetitive it has worn a groove into the stone over years. You eat what was left from yesterday. A child presses against your side. Nobody is in a hurry. By mid-morning, you and several others are moving through the landscape. The gathering is partly social. You are not alone. You talk, point things out, read the ground together. By early afternoon, you have collected enough. You return. The sun is fierce, so you rest in the shade, half asleep, listening to the sounds of the camp. As the light shifts, someone begins telling a story you have heard before, but its repetition is the point. The names of the ancestors in the story are the same names your children will repeat to their children. The story is a record, a map, a moral instruction, and entertainment simultaneously. As full dark falls, the fire is built up. Someone begins to clap. The sound carries across the flat ground. You know this rhythm. Your body already knows what to do. Here is the counterintuitive part. Around 10,000 years ago, human beings invented agriculture. And for a long time, we told this story as progress. Farming was the leap forward, the great achievement. But the skeletal record does not agree. When archaeologists compare the bones of pre-agricultural hunter-gatherers with the bones of early farmers at the same sites, a pattern appears. Farmers were shorter. Their bones showed more nutritional deficiencies, more dental cavities, more signs of infectious disease. They worked more hours. They were more sedentary in some ways and more physically burdened in others. They were dependent on a narrow set of crops that could fail. The archaeological record at sites like Abu Huraira in Syria shows exactly this transition, with skeletal markers of hard repetitive labor increasing sharply in the farming period. Anthropologist James Suzman, who spent decades with the San Bushmen of Namibia, wrote that the adoption of agriculture may have been one of the most consequential and least understood trade-offs in human history. More food security in some ways, dramatically more work. The birth of inequality, the beginning of property, and the end of a kind of time that your body still mourns. Because here is the mirror. The tension you feel between work and rest, between obligation and ease, between being productive and simply being, that tension is not a character flaw. It is not laziness. It is an evolutionary hangover. Your body and brain were built across hundreds of thousands of years for a rhythm of effort and deep rest, for social storytelling and firelight, for purposeful physical movement followed by genuine recovery. The modern world did not consult that design when it built its schedule. You wake up when your body is ready. For 99% of human history, that was not a luxury. It was the default. And somewhere underneath all the alarms and all the calendars, your body still expects it.